So ladies and gentlemen, give a really warm welcome to Alan Cooke.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Glastonbury. One of the things that I thought of doing, and then I changed my mind because I thought I wouldn't blend in properly. If I went and had a haircut and had a shave, it wouldn't go with the street culture outside. So you've got me as I am, but the topic's a little bit wider than 5G, although we're going to try and spend a bit of time with it. And what I have got is some breaking news, and I'm not going to even comment on it. I'm going to read out an email that I've received and then let you decide amongst yourselves what you think of it. I know what I think of it, but it would be interesting to see what your views are. So I don't know if you're aware, but up in Manchester Airport, they've got these pods, and it's run by Vodafone 5G, where you can go in and download a movie as fast as sort of 10 seconds, I think. So this was what was reputed with 5G, how it was going to make the internet a lot faster for movies and things like that. However, there's been a lot of concern with regard to the other side of things. You know, is it safe? Is it good? And I've been researching for quite a number of years, and I've even concerned before even the thought of 5G was going to come up. So I'll share with you, and also a lot of top professors, people that I mix with over the years, with their results, which tend to correspond with what I've found anyway. First of all, just tell you a little bit about myself. I've worked in the healthcare sector now for 18 years plus, and I first got involved with this type of thing because I'm always asked, oh, how did you get involved with it? Well, I always knew or had a feeling that wireless wasn't the best thing out on the market. And before wireless, obviously, we all had cable, and we were all cabled out and we had no problems. And then wireless came along and we had certain issues with it. We've got issues with electrosensitive people, and there may even be people in the audience that are electrosensitive. And 5G will potentially make it worse because you're not going to have just 5G out there. You're going to have the 2G, the 3G, the 4G, and the 5G will be a layer on top. So we are actually adding to what we've already put out there. So I hope most people can read that, but I am a member of the Royal Society of Medicine. I'm a member of the International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine, and I've been around, as I say, quite a while looking at this. So what we're trying to look at today, along with obviously 5G, is normal human physiology, the current safety guidelines, the mechanics of the damage via all this stuff. Remember, it's all wireless, so it's all going to cause the same problems, although potentially 5G is going to cause more damage. The health outcomes of that, the vulnerability of our children, the robustness of the argument, how we can optimise and come up with practical solutions, and then coming on to Wi-Fi, DEC phones, smart meters, and 5G, the question is, it's safe. So how did I get involved with this issue? As I said to you, I knew there was something not quite right about wireless, but I used it a lot at home, used it in the car, etc., etc. But my journey began, some of you may have heard this story, but if you haven't, I'll keep it brief. This is a 15-year-old schoolgirl. Her name was Jenny Fry. She was electrosensitive to the state where she couldn't live in front of wireless. In other words, when I say she couldn't live, she couldn't bear it. She would find at home she had all sorts of issues, headaches, nausea, bladder problems even, all the things that we know are associated with this type of thing, which our government say doesn't exist. And that might have been a bit of a coincidence because this was happening at home. But when the school actually put in wireless, all her symptoms increased. And bear in mind, a lot of schools have industrial strength Wi-Fi because they need to cover the whole area of the school. So why a school's got Wi-Fi running through its gymnasium beats me, but it's on all the time. You know, they don't turn it off. And she would take herself out of class and she'd say to the teachers, I can't concentrate. I really am struggling. I have to get away from this Wi-Fi. They didn't understand. They just didn't know. They thought, actually, that she was pulling a bit of a fast one. So they punished her. Detention after detention after detention. One day, after quite a prolonged time, I would say you're looking at weeks rather than days, she sent a text to her best friend and said, I'm not coming into school today, I'm actually going to the woods and I'm contemplating suicide. So she was hoping that that would get straight back through to the school, because as soon as her friend got into school, she would alert the teachers, etc. Unfortunately, that best friend didn't take her mobile to school that day. So she picked the message up at 4 o'clock when she got home. Rang the mother, said, I've had this distressing text from Jenny. She's threatening to kill herself. Mother rushes off to the woods, finds her daughter hanging from a tree. What a waste of a life. And really, it's so tragic, because we're finding that suicides seem to be following suicides amongst a lot of school children because of depression and maybe a lot of other things. Now, if the school had actually done a little bit more research, they would have found that it wasn't only Jenny that would be affected. Jenny was badly affected because she was super hypersensitive. I mean, I've got friends that will say to me, there's somebody got a mobile phone here, not within the vicinity that you can see them, and then they come round the corner with it held to their head. They know, they can sense, and that is how bad Jenny was. So it's a real sort of dilemma, and it's something that needs to get out there for people to actually begin to realise. So every year there is what is known as the Jenny Fry Memorial Lectures, and we bring over a lot of people from abroad, some of the top people like Professor Ollie Johansson, who resides in Sweden, Professor Martin Paul from Canada. All these people that I would recommend, if you don't know of their work, that you research it on the internet. Dr. Erica Mallory Blythe, who's a GP turned sort of advocate of putting this message out amongst schools, that this stuff is not safety, has never been safety tested, and yet it's allowed to be rolled out. My question always is, you know, if you put a drug out on the market, it has to get certain standards, or else it doesn't get out there. This stuff, we can roll it out, and it's not had one safety test, and it's out there, and 5G is likely, well, it's going to be the same. We've had people whistleblow over time. This is a guy named Robert Kane. He was employed by the telecommunications company, and he was a whistleblower. He basically said that you are likely to pick up problems by using your mobile phone against your head. It might only be incidental, but you're gambling every time you're putting that phone to your head. By the way, how many people in this hall are aware that there is a warning in your mobile phone not to hold it on your body so it's switched on? Okay, well, the people that are not aware, let me just inform you that that is something that is in your mobile phone, and that includes either keeping it in your pocket or putting it against your head when it's switched on. And that is something that can be quite dangerous over a period of time. Now, our bodies do repair quite quickly. If it's hit by an outside type of influence, it will repair. But if they're bombarded continually, in the end, it won't repair. It treats it as an alien body basically coming into us, and that's when diseases start to occur. So you get the issue with a build-up and then the possible long-term effects of neurological and even to the extent of cancers. So think about the next time you use your mobile phone, whether you want to actually hold it against your head. One of the ways to beat that radiation is with an air tube headset or some kind of wiring, as long as the wiring is not metal, because I'll talk about how wiring as well, metal wiring, can cause issues as well. So if we move on, this was again a headline in one of the newspapers, and I won't, well, it's in two of them actually, but one of them is probably the most popular daily one. And this guy was 44 years of age, and he died of a brain tumour the size of a lemon. Now, he spent 6 hours a day on his mobile, and you might say, well, what an idiot. You know, why spend 6 hours a day on your mobile? He had no choice. He actually had to use it for work. He installed MRI scanners in hospitals. And in the end, what happened was, because he'd used his phone so much, he had the tumour on the side of his head where he held the phone. And what he's trying to show here and demonstrate is he connected a headset or a handset to his mobile so that he could talk radiation free. Because the only way that signal will get through is wireless. You know, that's what's in the air. It's got no connection, so it has to transmit wirelessly. And it's not normal background radiation. This stuff is pulsed, man-made pulse. It's exactly the same as what 5G will be, all pulsed. And it's that pulsing that will do the damage. Now this is his tumour. Sorry, that's the slide there. That was his tumour, that's his actual tumour. 42 years of age, date of birth 9th of 1171, name Ian Phillips. Scan was done on the 13th of the 10th, 2014 at 10:18 a.m. And he described, before he got to the hospital, of being hit on the head with a hammer. That's how bad he said it felt. And so, if he hadn't been operated on there and then, he'd have been in a situation where he would have died. And so they successfully removed the tumour, glioblastoma, which is one of the worst tumours, because people don't survive. Okay, they gave him a maximum of, well, you normally have a maximum of 5 years if you've had the tumour removed, but it will come back and it will kill you. He actually died after 18 months. So, you know, it's quite sad. Now, I researched these, and I'd actually rang his father and told him what I do. Because at my job, I feel, if I can save one life, and I really mean that, if I can save one person's life by talking about this stuff, then that one life will be worth it. And children are very, very vulnerable. Their brains, their skulls are nowhere near developed like an adult. So they start holding that mobile phone to their head, that wireless is going straight in to their brains. And not only does it go into their brains, one of the worst affected part is the eyes. You know what it's like. If you put a bit of metal in a microwave oven, it'll arc and it'll spark when you switch the oven on. This is invisible, this stuff that bounces out, but we're seeing a lot more eye cancers with people
that are wearing metal rimmed glasses and holding the phone to their head. So if you think about it, it's a no-brainer. The nearest point, yeah, no pun intended, but the nearest point is the eyes, and they are watery, and they will absorb those microwaves quite readily. However, guys, you're not out of the woods yet, because if you put your mobile phone switched on in your pocket, then you are going to reduce your sperm count exponentially. And you might say, well, I'm past reproduction now, not really bothered about that. Okay, let me put on testicular cancers are rising. Now, I can't stand up here and say it's because you put your mobile phones in your pocket. But it has, I'm sure, a contributory factor to this increase. So, what I wanted to do now, just sort of digressing back, because I've thrown a little bit by no sound, is to read this to you. This is quite interesting, because in Manchester Airport, as I briefly touched on, they've got this sort of pod that you can go into and test the 5G and see how quick it is. But a group of concerned residents in the Manchester area got in touch with the management team at Manchester Airport and asked for a meeting to discuss the safety and the aspects of 5G in the airport. Now, this is quite new. I've got the copy of the email that actually was sent back. They were due to meet originally today to discuss with I quote, Nicholas Woods. He is the Chief Information Officer at Manchester Airport. And as I said to you, this I'll let you decide. So he wrote, thank you for your invitation to meet this Friday, which was today, on the topic of public health impacts of 5G technology. After consideration, I do not feel it would be appropriate to meet you on these matters, and I will therefore politely refuse your offer. The rollout of 5G is a matter of government policy. So in the first instance, this is something I suggest you should raise with the appropriate ministers and advisors. As any airport operator, we do not provide a vision on the health and safety issues concerning 5G technology. There, this is interesting, isn't it? Because we do not have statutory duties in this area. Yeah, this is literally, I would suggest that obviously there are statutory duties. Public Health England is responsible for providing the UK government with its information. Well, most people know that anyway, but he's pointing that out because I don't think he can say very much else. It also provides advice to national authorities on EMF issues. They have published a guidance note here, which you can close with it, just a guidance note, with mobile phone base stations, radio waves and health. In addition, the World Health Organization is another body that is placed to carry out analysis around the health and safety impacts of the radio frequencies such as 5G. I hope this information is useful and apologise that we could not be more help at this time. So if you want to take that up with a guy named Nicholas Woods at Manchester Airport, it would be interesting to see that he thinks he can just trade responsibilities. So basically I think what he would say is, well, it's Vodafone's responsibility. If there's any health issues, they're just using our pod and that's it. So anyway, I'll be interested to hear people's reaction afterwards. So what we need to know is ionising radiation, which is in the electromagnetic spectrum at the higher end, where your body heats up, whereas non-ionising radiation, which are microwaves, do not heat up. They cause cancers, and they cause them by moving the electrons out of their orbit. It's a little bit more involved than that, but if you want a lot more information, please study Martin Paul, P-A-L-L, on the internet, and he does a lot of great work and will give you a lot more information. So, for many years it was believed that non-ionising radiation was biologically safe, because people used to say, oh, well, don't worry, you know, it's non-ionising, it won't cause any problems. But that's far from the truth, because all areas of the electromagnetic spectrum do affect health, some of which can be very serious. So the glioblastoma multiforme, which was the type that Ian Phillips had, is a type of cancer for which there is no cure, and after surgery, a life expectancy of 12 to 18 months. So it is quite serious. How many people know there's a warning in your mobile phone not to hold it against the body? Oh, no, I thought... Ooh. Okay, well, like I say, I thought there'd been a lot more. So maybe you're not, and it's my job to tell you. But that's what you get in an iPhone. But look where you've got to go to find it. Settings, general, about, legal, RF exposure. And then it says, to reduce exposure to RF energy, use a hands-free option, such as the built-in speakerphone, the supplied headphones, or other similar accessories. Carry your iPhone at least 10 mil away from your body. They now say at least 15 mil, to ensure exposure levels remain at or below the as-tested levels. Cases with metal parts may change the compliance in a manner that has not been tested or certified. So, you're advised not to use your mobile phone if you're in a train station, on a bus, in the car, anywhere where there's metal, because it will bounce back. So children that are using laptops in a classroom where there may be a radiator in the corner and a metal filing cabinet, those signals will be bouncing everywhere. That's without what's being transmitted from the actual laptops that all the kids have in front of them. And because their bodies are very small, we know they absorb more microwave radiation the smaller you are. So put that together with the fact that their brains are very, very susceptible. I don't think they become fully functional until about 24 years of age. And so, you know, they are very, very vulnerable. And this is the sort of thing what can happen. And this doesn't matter whether it's 5G, 4G, 3G, whatever. This is brain glucose metabolism. Now, the one that you need to be looking at with the affected one is the one on the left, with the orange and red sort of tinty bits in. That's where the blood-brain barrier has been penetrated, and you've now got a leakage into the brain. And that is very serious. The one on the right-hand side is just the normal brain. So, again, important that we are aware of that. Okay, this is a colleague of mine, Professor Ollie Johansson. Some of you may have been to lectures or seen him. He comes over to Sussex regularly to attend the Jenny Fry Memorial Lectures, and he was over earlier. So, my question is, are you innocently harming yourself and your family? Because these products are now in our own homes, and you might be surprised at one or two. So, cordless phones, known as DEC phones. The DEC stands for Digitally Enhanced Cordless Telecommunications. Sounds great, doesn't it? People get them all over their house to plug them in, because all you need is PowerPoint. Don't need anything else. But do you know the recommended distance to be from one of those is 8 inches. That is from not only the base unit, but the actual handset as well. Now, the only way you can make and receive a call 8 inches away is to put it on speakerphone and shout a bit like I am at the moment. So it's not that practical. But the warnings are that those deck phones are dangerous, more so than the mobile. And you say to me, well, what can I do about it? Do what I did when I found out, because I had the measuring equipment and I could tell what was coming out of mine. I took it out, threw it in the bin, and went back to a corded phone. No problems then. You're not going to get irradiated with a corded phone. So, again, worth thinking about. And if you've got one of those by your bed as an extension and you're not sleeping very well, start doing some investigating. Because you may find that by removing that phone, you get a better night's sleep. So what body is responsible for our protection? Well, this is where we come back to our friend in Manchester, quoting everything but, oh, nothing to do with us. Comes under Powers of Public Health England, but it was originally drawn up by the International Commission for Non-Ionising Radiation, known as ICNIR, in 1998. Hasn't changed since then. So we've had all this new technology come in, 1998, the guidelines are there. So when we ask the question, what about them? Well, they're obsolete. But the problem is the government will only talk about thermal effects on the body. If your body doesn't heat up a certain amount, it's safe. Is it hell? The biological impacts of this stuff is, as I say, it'll hit you, your body will repair. It'll hit you, your body will repair. And then there'll come a time when it will not repair. And that's when the diseases start to come in. And it's all in breach of the Nuremberg Code, really. I'm not going to go all the way through that. But basically, we're not going to be far away when we can really prove that this stuff is causing people a lot of damage, that we can start suing these companies. That's why you've got a warning in your mobile phone, because they'll want to know, did you read the warning in the phone, or did you just merrily go ahead? And most people don't even know it's in there, as we proved here now. There isn't that many. I was a bit surprised. So how these devices are let onto the market, the mobiles, if they have a mannequin, okay, and in that mannequin they put a lot of Lemons type fluid. This is supposed to represent a human brain, yeah? And if it doesn't heat up 1 kilogram, 1 degree in 6 minutes, it's safe. Yeah, absolutely. So you can see how absolutely ridiculous it is. And that phone is not actually touching the mannequin, it's slightly away from it, at the suggested distance. Okay. Now, so I pose this question: is microwaving mercury safe? Because if you've got fillings of mercury in your teeth and you're putting a mobile phone next to your head, where's those fillings going to go? They're going to go in your body. And that is not very good. So Dr. George Carlo said, had there been pre-testing, cell phones would never have made it into the marketplace. So I go back to my original thing saying, well, if we put a drug on the market, it has to be safety tested. But this, for some reason, they got away with it. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence, but the reason that I put this up is to say it's important to realise that we're all electromagnetic in nature. That's the brain, which is a very, very complex mechanism. An electrocardiogram on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is a muscle contraction. So whatever you do, blink your eyes, whatever, it's all conducted by electromagnetic waves. So, and we've got trillions of connections in our human body. When we start mucking about with them, we get problems. And I'll tell you why we get problems. So, scientists now can even generate electricity from trees. That's a voltmeter being used, and they've got electricity coming from that. Now, I'm saying, right, well, it's affecting all of us. You know, but people just tend to think about human beings. But this stuff will go into the water. So it will affect the sea mammals. Why are whales being found beached? And again, I can't say for definite it's to do with this technology, but it may well have a lot to do with it. Because we know the bees, this technology, the wireless, throws them off kilter. They lose orientation. So, but it's not just the mammals. It's the birds, the insects, us, our pets. I had a gentleman, I did a talk for a U3A a while back, and he rang me the next day and he said, I've got a wireless router in the kitchen and I've got 2 dogs that sleep in there. Is there any connection between them wanting to come out of the kitchen every time I open the door? And I said, absolutely. Those animals are feeling it and they want to get away. They don't know why they want to get away because obviously they can't work it out, but they know something's wrong. So we are destroying not only the planet, we are destroying our own people, birds, bees, everything. In fact, you may have heard of the dilemma in Gateshead, where they're saying there's 5G lighting with these LED street lights. And if you listen to the guy who's... Mark Steele, thank you for that. Just a momentary loss there. Mark Steele, so you've obviously been following it. He's saying there's no insects up there because they're being zapped by the LED streetlights. He's also saying it's causing nosebleeds and all sorts of problems. But because there's no insects, then there's no small birds, because the small birds rely on the insects for their food. So there's a lot of sense, obviously, with that. So, you know, we've got 8,000, or there are 8,000 research articles on animals, citing all sorts of things that we know I'm talking to you about today. And they run right across. That was published in February 2005. So before all this, you know, 4G and everything else came out, even then, they knew. So, our cells have no choice to receive signals from smart meters. And they're not compatible. Electrical failure, as I said earlier, equals disease. Can I just take a straw poll of people? How many people in this room got a smart meter fitted? Have. One hand I can see, there may be 1 or 2 more, one at the back. Okay, well that's really good news, because I would say the best thing for that smart meter is the dump, and I'll show you why in a minute, because again we're going back to wireless technology. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at what is allowed. And this will give you some idea while our government and the USA government can turn around and say, it all comes under our safety guidelines. Okay? So we're at the top. Our safety limits are the highest in the world. 1,000 microwatts per square metre we tolerate. Go to Belgium, Bulgaria, 2.4, 1.0. Even Israel is a tenth of what we allow. So that's why our government can turn around and say, it all falls within the safety limits. But what they don't tell you, well, we've got the highest in the world, so tough. All right, the next item is a decommissioned. It was 2002 this was released, and it was top secret for many years. Over the last few years, it's been decommissioned. You can see how old it is by the type. And what I want to draw you to is the last paragraph, and I will read it out because not everybody's going to be able to see that. And this came from Norbert Hankin, the Radiation Protection Division in the United States. The FCC's exposure guidelines are considered protective of effects arising from a thermal mechanism. We're back to heating of the body again. But not from all possible mechanisms. Therefore, the generalisation by many that the guidelines protect human beings from harm by any or all mechanisms is not justified. So you've got people still lying, saying, well, no, you know, it has to heat up or there's no problem. And then we had the International Agency for Research on Cancer released a paper in 2011 saying electromagnetic fields are possibly carcinogenic to humans, meaning cancer forming. Now, the reason that was put as a 2B, and if I I'll show you in a minute what the other categories are, is because they had a lot of information, but they didn't have all the information at that time in 2011 that they would have liked. You know how it's come on. They are due to meet again urgently, believe it or not, in 2 to 4 years. That's how urgent it is for them. But in the meantime, 5G will be rolled out by then, and we may have another issue on our hands. So, where are we looking at? Well, we're looking at a group 1, and that's what a lot of top doctors, professors want it as, because there's no doubt then it says it's a known human carcinogen. And there's enough evidence, I believe, around now to be able to say that. If it goes to a group 2A, it's classed as a probable human carcinogen, but at the moment its category is classed as a possible human carcinogen. And then you get group 3, where it's not classified as its carcinogenic tendency to humans. So, what held the radio frequency electromagnetic back from a higher classification was a lack of mechanistic data, meaning if A equals B, all the steps are known as to how this happens. And that's what science likes. That's how it makes it. A equals B, there's no doubt. But there was flaws. So whilst some data was available in 2011, there was not enough to satisfy the criteria. And as I said, IARC has yet to convene to reclassify it, but it will be addressed in the next 2 to 4 years, so we've got no worries, have we? Now, just very briefly, this will explain, hopefully, a lot about how our bodies work. So, whatever we're doing, we're between 2 hertz and 50 hertz. Whether it's deep sleep, exercising, whatever we do, we're alive between 2 and 50 hertz. Okay? But, and those frequencies in general, apart from a dreamless deep sleep where it goes a little bit, are generally steady. Okay? Now, if we start looking at 2.4 gigahertz, which is what your microwave oven runs on, what your mobile phone runs on, what your deck phone runs on, then it's miles away from your body's capabilities. That's why I'm saying that you know, if you look at it in the cold light of day, we're in a situation where it can't possibly be good to be receiving fields into the body that are so far away from our natural working and relaxing habitat. So it's not safe, and it's certainly not smart. And somebody got a lot of money for really, you know, actually getting it up. Let's call it smart, and let's addict everybody to it, and they'll think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'll tell you how corrupt our government were, and still are. Okay, in 2005, there was a guy named Sir William Stewart. He was commissioned by the government to recommend about mobile phone masks when there was a big hoo-ha about it all around schools, etc., etc. And what he recommended was that the beam of greatest intensity from a mobile phone mast should not fall on any part of a school's ground or buildings without the informed consent of the school and parents. What did they do with that? Well, they disregarded it and said, no, you got it wrong. So they commissioned somebody to do it, and then they don't take any notice. So this is what I was talking about earlier on, a mast against a laptop. It's going to emit a lot further in a classroom than a mast away at 100 metres. So here's your phones, ladies and gentlemen. At 2 metres, these phones are the equivalent of being 100 to 200 metres from a cell tower. They also radiate 24/7, whether they're in use or not. I had a gentleman at one event that I did, he said, "Oh, doesn't worry me." And I said, "Well, haven't you got a deck phone?" And he said, "Yeah, but I don't get any calls and I hardly make any." And I said, "Well, I've got news for you, sir. As soon as you plug that thing into the mains, it's emitting. But it's a little bit like carbon monoxide. You can't see it, can't hear it, can't touch it. But carbon monoxide will kill you a lot quicker than this will, because this will possibly take years. But it will get you, or it will contribute to some sort of illness. Now, there may be people here who have got certain meters. These are the two that I use. They're quite expensive. One's the acoustimeter and one's an HF35C. But they're designed to measure high-frequency fields, such as what we've got at the moment. So I'm trying to move on and get as much in for you as I can. So we had cigarettes before we had the asbestos care. That's why I'm saying, or the asbestos issue. Government said, oh, no problem with cigarettes, you know, won't cause any problems. Then they had to back down on that. Then they were saying, no problem with asbestos. Then there was a commission study done in 2010, and all they did was got their scientists to postpone on independent research. Now, I don't know if you know, but a lot of research that's done is done by the telecommunications companies for the government. Yeah, and they're paid well for that. So when you see the headline in the Sun, oh, no link mobile phones to cancer, everybody goes, ah, there's no problem. So, the future's in your hands. Because if you put that mobile phone in your pocket, or, ladies, I don't want to miss you out, because a lot of them put their phones in their bras, and tumours have been found at the exact spot where they go. So mobiles should never be kept on the body. But you women are great. You've got an advantage over the blokes, because you can put your mobile phone in your handbag, and that is protecting you, whereas Fred Bowles thinks, no radiation, puts it in his pocket. The signal then has to really boost itself to try and get through, and like I say, you take your chance. And guys, it doesn't just go in a little area. This is how far it goes. Yeah, honestly. So please try and keep your mobile phones out of your pockets, even if you're not looking to reproduce, because it can lead to other issues. And on the left is sperm not exposed to radiation, where it swims quite well, and 12 hours on a mobile. Now, that's not 12 hours continuous. That can be 12 hours over a period, but it does start to have a problem. But even worse is this, your red blood cells. Before using a mobile, they're quite happy. An hour on a mobile, look at that. So, okay, so there's a typical classroom scenario where everybody's getting radiated, even the teacher walking around, but of course it's all invisible, so you can't see it. What's the answer? Go back to wired computers. And you might say, well, that's defeatist. We're going back to where we've come from. Yes, but they were safe. But the government could change it tomorrow. And the BBC are one of the worst at this, because the BBC give wireless laptops to schools, if you didn't know that. Okay, so schools have already removed Wi-Fi in Canada for safety reasons. Entire countries in Europe are removing it from schools and libraries, etc. We'll be the last, because we say there's no problem. If the body doesn't heat up, there's not a problem. So you can now hopefully start to understand why this was an issue. Okay, and there's just a graphic. That's 5 minutes on the mobile. So see how much further it will penetrate into that child than it will into the human. And that leads to DNA breakage. Now, that's a healthy ball of DNA on the left. The one in the middle is the equivalent of 1,600 chest x-rays, which is quite fragmented, and 24 hours on a mobile on the right-hand side. So we know this causes problems. There's now no doubt about it. You know, gone are the days when you can say, you're a conspiracy theorist, it's not true. Yeah, there's study after study after study. Not enough, because it costs money. So here's my top tips for you. If you want to write these down, you're more than welcome, but I can give you these. So turn off your wireless capability from the router when not in use. Most people leave their router on 24 hours. Remember, it penetrates brick walls. That's how you get a signal down the end of the garden, through glass, up through to your bedroom. Use a corded landline telephone if you can. Go back to it. Resist any attempts to have a smart meter fitted. And we're going to briefly talk on that in a moment. We're going to have to be brief. Keep your mobile phone charged up, because if it's not charged up, it's going to have to work harder. Keep them away from your body. Turn your mains power off at night if you can, the whole lot. Don't worry about your fridge freezer. That will stay, 8 hours, no problem. If you had a power cut for 8 hours, it would stay. Avoid using your mobile in cars, elevators, buses and trains. Do not place laptops on your lap. I mean, it sounds sick, but whoever invented the word laptop? So people go. Right. So moving on swiftly. Now, this is interesting. Insurance companies are more independent than some of their advisory groups when it comes to radio frequency risks. They employ people, I don't know if you know this, but they do, they employ people to specifically look at the literature and decide the likelihood of harm. If they will not insure for something that shows there is compelling evidence, then there is an issue. They have labelled this frequency as high risk, i.e. beyond 3 years. You're exposed to high frequency radiation when you use your phone right next to your head. And they exclude, you won't get insurance if you fall ill through this stuff. You can't get it. 2 or 3 people in this room that have got a smart meter fitted, please check with your insurance company whether you're actually insured if that smart meter burns your house down. And I hope it doesn't, but we've had problems with America and places abroad where they haven't been fitted properly, even in this country, and I'll show you in a moment. So I'm running through this now so that we can get onto this. In America and Canada, smart meters were compulsory many years ago, and they were actually breaking into people's houses to fit them. And you would think, no, they wouldn't do that. I've actually got it. If you watch a film called Take Back Your Power, that is available, it's a brilliant film. It shows them with this guy filming his electrical company breaking in to fit a smart meter, physically breaking in. And on other occasions, they've actually called the police out to help them gain entrance where householders wouldn't let them in. So ever wondered what that stands for? Somebody got a lot of money for that. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely. Right. Have a quick look at this. Your analogue meter is brilliant, honestly. One of the best things that you have ever had. They last and they last and they last. Smart meters, in comparison, you can get radiation exposures from them, health complaints, pulse them, they pulse up to 190,000 times a day, and so on and so on and so on. Your analogue meters, the only disadvantage with an analogue meter is you've got to send your meter readings in. And that's what the government tried to sell this on, was, oh, you won't have to read your meter anymore. Do you know what? It takes me 30 seconds to read my meter, put it in an email, and send it off, and it's done. And of course, there's an issue. If you've got a smart meter and your neighbours have, there's all, again, the cumulative exposure. But this was the fires that came from the UK. If anybody saw it, last year, Watchdog did a report on UK fires, started from incorrectly fitted smart meters. This is a house in Bushy in Hertfordshire, going up. That's a fuse box. That was the kitchen. And it's all about money. It really is. Do you save anything? In fact, in America, they found that the bills went up. They didn't come down. And of course, your privacy will be compromised. I'll give you an example of that. CIA chief will spy on you through your dishwasher. Items of interest will be located, identified, monitored and remotely controlled through technologies such as radio frequency. They can do that. Not a problem. So it's not a joke, it's actually true. And they've stated that your data is worth more to them than your actual electricity bill. Can security be breached? Of course it can. What's been hacked? CIA's been hacked, Pentagon's been hacked, NATO's been hacked. Anything can be hacked. Oh, no, not your not your analog. The cannabis users love it because they can bypass it, but they can't hack it. Now, 5G technology could be coming to a lamppost near you. Now, I've got to get this in before we finish because it's important as part of it. But 5G technology, EE, the boss, okay? I got this from one of my doctors that I associate with, stated this at a conference. EE have stated they will not use millimetre waves in the UK. Now, if that is true, that will save a lot of worry. But it shouldn't be taken as gospel. And also, the problem is that we're still not out of the woods, because we still need to campaign. Because whatever they put out there, even if they put out, because the millimetre waves are in the 26 gigahertz, I think, to 300 gigahertz range, but it'll add to everything that's out there anyway. So they'll just be putting more smog out there than threat. So it's right to actually campaign against them. And I don't believe them anyway. I believe that, you know, can you believe them? Can they turn it on? Yeah, we wouldn't know necessarily. Can they turn it up? Probably. You know, they'll be able to control it. Now, this concerned me a bit, and maybe somebody in this room, don't answer now because we haven't got time, but these are appearing all around wells in Somerset, on lampposts that have got LED lights. And the closer you get to the city centre, the more of these are found. I tried to get a Freedom of Information Act from Mendip District Council, who told me they didn't know anything about them. So I said, so who's putting them on? Terrorists? So they're lying. But it's a problem. So if anybody knows, it's as if they're brackets of some sort for something to go in, and it may be that it's some sort of small cell tower of some sort that's going to go in there. So what does our future hold? Well, 5G is already here. It's running in 16 cities. Good to see Glastonbury have put a moratorium on it at the moment, but that's not good enough, because unless you fight and battle and really go at this, they could change it tomorrow. Okay, so although we can't prove that at the moment, well, we can to a certain extent prove it's unsafe, but the onus is on them to prove that it's not harmful to you and me, because that is so important. So, miniature cell towers, they're going to be about 4 feet tall and work within a 100-metre range. I'm just wondering if that's what's going on to our lampposts. But the health effects, if it does roll out on millimetre waves, will be even worse than what we've got at the moment. It's expected to include DNA single and double strand breaks, oxidative damage, disruption of cell metabolism, increased blood-brain permeability, and I spoke about blood-brain permeability with the glucose. Melatonin reduction, you need that to sleep at night. If you don't get the melatonin into your brain and your head, you will not recover and charge your batteries basically for the next day. And of course, as I said earlier, disruption to brain glucose metabolism. So I know you've probably got a lot of questions, and I know there are things that I haven't put out here today, but not been helped, unfortunately, because we've had a technical problem. Why does it always happen to me? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't believe a word I've said, then please do that. Probably. But I have a website, and I can be contacted by email. If you want more information, please go onto that. It's all lowercase, and I will only be too happy to help you. Now, I said when I came up here, if I can save one life, and I now work with Jenny Fry's mother, who is campaigning to get wireless out of school. If I can save one life, my job's well done. And I don't do this for money. I go all over the place, and I don't make generally anything out of it. If I can cover my expenses, great. But if I can save lives, that's what we're all about. And I know today you're going to go away from here and say, well, I've just listened to this bloke, I don't know whether I believe him or not, but he's advocating this and this and this, and you can make the difference, because as a group, you're going to tell a lot of people, and you will affect lives. And that is something that we need at the moment. We need to battle the people that I believe are trying to get a depopulation agenda underway.
Yeah.
So, Glastonbury, thank you very much, and have a good evening.